See, if you compare the government's adamancy and the way Venkatramani reported this to the Supreme Court, it shows that government's double policy. On the one hand, they have not recognized Taliban, but you have ME officials meeting them and cutting deals, and perhaps also working for exchange of diplomats. If one of their RSS Bhagat or BJP supporter had been involved in this kind of situation, the Prime Minister or the government would have used all its cards to get him or her released. Since she happens to be unknown faceless citizen caught up in this web of litigation and criminal case, the government, the attorney is telling the Supreme Court, it shows that they have exhausted all avenues. No, Mr. Venkatramani, there are many more such similar situations. Just take the example of Taliban. Your own government is talking to them. How did you talk to them when you have not recognized? Is it not a similar case? The Taliban have not captured anybody or sentenced to death. But still, because of your policy on Pakistan, you want to talk to Taliban, or you want to save your interest in Afghanistan. You see, I hope and pray that she is saved and she comes back safe if the blood money has been accepted or transferred to the deceased family, and if the government adopts a flexible approach in Sana. But unfortunately, if it is otherwise, this will have serious implications not only on the Prime Minister standing in India, because he has been taking the cause of women and education of child girl. So this will be a major setback. Number two, you see, the people of Kerala in particular and the Indians in general will not forgive this government if she is executed.
Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. Execution of Nimisha Priya has been postponed with hectic parleys underway in Yemen in a last-ditch effort to save the nurse from Kerala who was sentenced to death by local authorities for killing a man who was harassing her. Ms. Priya's execution was scheduled for tomorrow, but it has now emerged that the murdered man's family has been convinced to postpone it at least for tomorrow. This does not mean she would be released or sent back to India. She is currently in Sana'a, the Houthi-held capital of Yemen. India does not have any diplomatic relations with the Houthi rebels. The Indian government had asserted yesterday that it has done everything within its limits to stop the execution, suggesting blood money is likely the last option that Ms. Priya can avail to evade death. Now, the government, which has been providing all possible assistance in the matter, had made concerted efforts in recent days to seek more time for the family of Nimisha Priya to reach a mutually agreeable solution with the victim's family. But I would go back to the proceedings which happened in the Supreme Court yesterday, where the center told the Supreme Court that they have exhausted all the diplomatic channels. But the big question is that Yemen is a small country. India is friendly with other nations like Iran, Oman, United Arab Emirates. There were options where India could have spoken to these nations directly. India could have spoken directly to the Yemeni authorities. But why are back channel talks taking place to save this nurse from Kerala? Is India really trying its best to save the girl from the gallows? Joining me this evening is Professor Kamal Pasha, international affairs expert and diplomat. So thank you so much for joining on Truth Be Told and on HW. But my first question to you is that now the news coming in that her hanging has been postponed by a day. But does it save the girl from going to the gallows, really?
Well, maybe for little over 24 hours from now, but the sword remains, the hanging possibility remains because the judicial authorities and the president of North Yemen, they apparently have approved the execution. You see, what is disturbing is, when this government tells the Supreme Court all the diplomatic channels, I'm not sure whether all the diplomatic channels have been used. Number one, whether the government of India has directly contacted the Houthi rebels, which apparently has not been done because we don't recognize this government. Secondly, whether our staff there in the embassy, which has not been given diplomatic recognition because it is in the south, whether these officials who man the embassy have approached the Houthi leadership. Uh, Thirdly, we have contacts with our strategic partners and friends in this region. Oman has extremely good friendly ties with the Houthis. Whether this channel was explored to get her released, or Iran, which has tremendous influence on the Houthis, whether Iranian government was approached by the MEA, or our strategic partners like Saudi Arabia and UAE, who also have indirectly contacts and influence through tribal leaders, so on and so forth, because there were similar situations facing these two countries. So, and on top of it, you see, there are many international organizations, humanitarian organizations, human rights groups, which are also involved and which are helping the case for early release of this lady. I don't know if the government of India has approached whatever emerges is they have approached a sheikh, tribal leader perhaps, and this has not worked out. But I mean, much more can be done and should have been done by now because this is an old case. It has been in the news almost about 5-6 years or plus. So in that way, the government knew. See, if you compare the government's adamancy and the way Venkatramani reported this to the Supreme Court, it shows that government's double policy. On the one hand, they have not recognized Taliban, but you have MEA officials meeting them and cutting deals, and perhaps also working for exchange of diplomats because the Taliban demanded that their diplomat be allowed to open their embassy in New Delhi. And similarly, it was a reciprocal, perhaps, our consulates, at least in Jalalabad and Kandahar. So we have a precedent where the government, even if it doesn't recognize legitimate authority, it can talk and discuss and cut deals. So likewise, it doesn't appear that they are open for dialogue with the Houthis for a number of reasons. One is the government considers them as rebels and terrorists who are attacking Israeli ships. The second one is the Israeli-Indian friendship. This government particularly is considered very close with Israel and Netanyahu. And Netanyahu has been facing barrage of missile attacks from the Houthis, and Israeli ships are going to Israeli ports. They have been targeted. Similarly, they targeted America also. But what is surprising is the Americans talked to the Houthis and agreed for a ceasefire because the Americans were losing their planes, fighter planes, and attacks were being mounted on them by drones and missiles and sabotage, so on and so forth. So, if a superpower like America can negotiate with the so-called rebels who are in actual control of North Yemen, Sana'a is under their control, and much of the northern territory of Yemen is under their control. So, under international law, they have exercised sovereignty over the territories they control. So, in that way, it is not a temporary phase that they will disappear. They have been in power for almost 10 years plus. So, in that way, the government, at least for this sake of the release of this lady, should have initiated talks as they did with Taliban and other groups previously. So in that way, we have not exhausted, in my perception, all the diplomatic and non-diplomatic NGOs and humanitarian groups which are working hard tirelessly, and also are telling our own officials who don't have diplomatic status to contact the family and persuade them that the blood money the family is prepared to give, because a lot of money has been mobilized from the Gulf countries where a large number of Malayalis live there. So it has become a celebrated case where not only Malayalis in the GCC countries globally, they have mobilized funds and they are pleading this case. But
No, but
also it has become a sensitive issue between center and state, because
right.
the people in Kerala feeling that the stepmotherly treatment by the central government of lack of interest and incompetence is
Hmm.
going to reflect the millions of Malayali workers who are not only in the Gulf but globally. If some such thing were to happen, this is a very serious lapse on the part of the government or the MEA particularly,
But
who have
made a
not
couple
followed through the case.
You've made a couple of important points. You said that the Indian government has not exhausted all the diplomatic channels which it had. And then the question is that why it didn't do it. Now, it had the option of talking to various nations like Oman, UAE, Iran. There were several countries who are very, very friendly with Prime Minister Modi. Prime Minister Modi has gone there, hugged the leaders. And now, if he cannot save the country's own daughter, which is Nimisha Priya, what does it really show? And is this a kind of a deliberate effort not to try the maximum, for Nimisha Priya? Does it look like a deliberate strategy on the part of the center not to protect Nimisha Priya to that level?
You see, this is a recent case. If you stretch this point which you have mentioned to the Indians, several Indians who were accused of violating the American immigration laws, who were detained and deported in very humiliating conditions since Trump came to power, or even before. They were handcuffed and chained in the neck, in the stomach and legs, and very long journey, painful journey they had to endure for more than 40 hours without proper food care and even using the toilets. Such humiliating conditions, Indians were sent by military plane, and the foreign minister of external affairs, had the audacity to tell the parliament that America is following the rules which are well known. So America has rules, but why can't you speak out like other countries have done? And they refuse to receive their citizens in this kind of handcuff position. So it goes to show the indifference of the Ministry of External Affairs and lack of care and support for Indian citizens. Any other country would, in our place, would have moved heaven and earth to get her released, like the Americans, British, French, others have done through various war-torn situations. It doesn't appear that the foreign minister or secretary have tirelessly worked and used all their influence, clout in the region and beyond to get her released. Their mentality is that she has committed the crime in their eyes. She has been sentenced already in their eyes, that since she has committed this death and murder, the Yemeni court has sentenced her, and it is her fault. So the onus is on this poor lady who has struggled to earn few $1,000 to help her family, children, mother, parents, and who was unfortunately tortured, and her earnings were siphoned off by this criminal who had previous cases according to reports, and seized her passport and denied her permission to visit and interact with children. How can a mother live without seeing her children for years together, and with her husband and parents? It is really a nightmarish situation she must have gone through. That's why there is sympathy all over the world, not just in Kerala or GCC countries among the millions, but hundreds and thousands of Indians, ordinary citizens, doctors, students, medical students, scientists, resident doctors in All India Institute of Medical Sciences, the Kerala Association of Medical Sciences, all of them have pleaded. But the central government has fallen on deaf ears.
No, but the point is that there were several regional channels yesterday and from South which were reporting that this is a kind of a discriminatory attitude on the part of the center. That just because the nurse is from South, they don't need to pay heed. And if Prime Minister Modi talks about Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, if he can do all he can to protect Adani, then why can't Prime Minister Modi save Nimisha Priya? Now, is this discriminatory kind of an attitude, what you were saying, that how it impacts a lot of Malayalis who are staying in the Gulf? It also impacts the center state relations. Pinarayi Vijayan, notwithstanding, had requested Prime Minister Modi to intervene. So did KC Venugopal, senior Congress General Secretary. He had also written a letter to Prime Minister Modi that it is in your hands and you should intervene in this matter. We have not seen Prime Minister Modi at all speaking on Nimisha Priya's issue at all. Not even a single tweet by Prime Minister Modi.
Well, if one of their RSS Bhagat or BJP supporter had been involved in this kind of situation, the Prime Minister or the government would have used all its cards to get him or her released. Since she happens to be unknown faceless citizen, caught up in this web of litigation and criminal case. The government appears was, sleeping on it, and the kind of urgency, seriousness which should have been shown, it doesn't appear. The attorney is telling the Supreme Court, it shows that they have exhausted all avenues. No, Mr. Venkatramani, there are many more such similar situations. Just take the example of Taliban. Your own government is talking to them. How did you talk to them when you have not recognized? Is it not a similar case? The Taliban have not captured anybody or sentenced to death, but still, because of your policy on Pakistan, you want to talk to Taliban or you want to save your interest in Afghanistan. But here, this is a citizen who's facing death. You should have done everything possible. Just a mere phone call from the foreign minister or foreign secretary or to the Houthis leadership, that would have meant the ego of the Houthi leadership being crushed and talk to them. They want recognition that they are in control of North Yemen, and it is our authority under our judicial system. We have sentenced, and if the Indian government had let that ego go, and if they had talked to the leadership there, Ansarullah leader, and there are many ways through which we could have done. But I don't think because of friendship between Prime Minister and Netanyahu and India and Israel under NDA, and also because the Houthis are attacking Israeli ships in the Red Sea because of the genocide Israel is carrying out in Gaza. The same thing was applied to America, but America pleaded for ceasefire with the Houthis and they agreed. So Britain, France, Germany, others also did the same thing. Are we greater, stronger than all of these European powers? We are a lesser mortar and we need Houthi support because our ships also keep moving in the Red Sea through
No,
the
but I
Suez
want to
Canal.
come back. Right, you pointed out the perspectives, but I want to come back to Nimisha Priya. That what happens to her now? Now there are reports. There is no official announcement that the execution has been postponed. It is only through the TV channels that one is getting to know that there are back channel talks happening between a cleric and the Yemeni authorities, and apparently that's how they are interacting. But what about Nimisha Priya? How long does she get to live? Will the Yemeni authorities buckle down? Will they have mercy on Nimisha Priya? These are some very tough questions which are looming large, and everybody is wanting answers. So, do we know how long will Nimisha Priya be safe or continue to live at all?
Yes, if the family of the deceased has agreed for the blood money, and you see, transferring that huge amount also is a big nightmare because Yemen is cut off from the global SWIFT system, or only hard cash has to be probably given to the deceased and under the supervision of the government there, because the matter is not just between the family of Nimisha and the family of the murdered person who was passed away. The government has, the Yemeni Houthi government has is involved, and it involves official contacts. Even if we have not recognized, a special diplomat could have been sent armed with all of these things, blood money, negotiate, repatriate, and we could have taken a plane load of humanitarian assistance, which is badly needed, like medicine and other vital products,
No, but
as a good gesture.
but anyways, Professor Pasha, India has been supplying a lot of medicines. Tamarind is something which is exported in loads of amounts to Yemen. But then also, Prime Minister Modi couldn't strike any deal for Nimisha Priya, like Donald Trump tried to engineer a ceasefire through a trade deal. Why couldn't Prime Minister Modi do this for Nimisha Priya? He could have also done a trade deal to save Nimisha Priya's life then.
I'm not sure whether the Prime Minister was briefed about this case because he has bigger things to tackle. Maybe the Foreign Minister thought this is not a big enough issue for himself to tackle. He must have instructed some lower official, second secretary, third secretary, to look into this because it could become explosive. But now that it has become a global issue, it is not just Kerala or center or India. It has
No,
become a
no,
global issue.
website has reported, every foreign channel has reported about this Yemeni nurse, which is Nimisha Priya.
Yeah, that's why it has attracted global attention. So many foreign channels are also reporting, and they are giving several examples of this, double standards of the government. On the one hand, you want to use your influence with Taliban to put pressure on Pakistan, and you don't recognize that. But here, your interest, not just, it is not Nimisha single case, but we need Houthis cooperation because hundreds of ships which pass through the Red Sea, they have thousands of Indian crew members. Imagine now if a ship or group of ships are captured and a few hundred Indian crew members are arrested and taken to North Yemen. How will the government get it released? You have to talk to them. Unless you talk to them, they will not release. So this should not become a precedent. We have done everything possible and then leave the hundreds of crewmen who are working for their living just at the mercy of these government and indifference and incompetence of the government.
My last question to you, Professor Pasha, is that what happens if Nimisha Priya goes to the gallows? She faces the news. What happens, and what could be the impact then? Could it really backfire for Prime Minister Modi?
You see, I hope and pray that she is saved and she comes back safe if the blood money has been accepted or transferred to the deceased family, and if the government adopts a flexible approach in Sana. But unfortunately, if it is otherwise, this will have serious implications not only on the Prime Minister standing in India, because he has been taking the cause of women and education of child girl. So this will be a major setback. Number two, you see, the people of Kerala in particular and the Indians in general will not forgive this government if she is executed because this is just a tip of the iceberg. Many more may be captured by the Houthis, and if they think that they are waging war against Yemen, and if they are sentenced like the Indians were sentenced in Qatar, 8 or 10 Indians were sentenced by Qatar government, and they were accused of spying for Israel. So at the highest level, government had to intervene and saved them. This can be done, although we have diplomatic relations and good relations with Qatar. But the government went an extra mile to save these Indians who were sentenced to death. So in that way, it will have a negative impact on this Vishwaguru status, which the Prime Minister, brags about. And he has visited more than 70 countries and all. He has global friendship. Why can't he use this friendship and influence with our key partners like Iran, Oman, UAE, Saudi Arabia, or even the Western countries who have channels open through the humanitarian NGOs and civil society. There are many, many, many channels which could
Right.
have been used, and this could have been resolved. Unfortunately, this has been allowed to escalate, and this highest court in the country is being told that we have done everything possible. Where is the evidence? If the parliament session opens and if she is
Oh, but do you think?
unfortunately executed, no, and 1 second, if she is executed, then the people in the parliament, members of parliament will ask the government, what is that you did? You show us, you give us the evidence. Did you use
No, but
the influence with Oman and other
Professor Pasha,
countries?
Professor Pasha, very briefly, that do you think that the center lied in the Supreme Court yesterday when it said that it has exhausted all diplomatic channels, and now that we get a one-day breather, Nimisha gets a one-day breather, because what we are getting to know through the sources, we don't even know how far that's true, but we are getting to know that her execution has been postponed. Now, postponed till when? Nobody knows that. So the news still hangs around the neck of Nimisha Priya. So what do you think should Prime Minister Modi be doing as of now as the first step towards
He
saving Nimisha? Very briefly,
Yes,
sir.
the first thing he should sack is he should sack Venkatramani. He is incompetent, and I think he has sounded alarm bell.
Or the Attorney
He's,
General. You're talking about the Attorney General who said
yes,
this.
he should be completely dismissed because of his incompetence. He should have. This was a avoidable statement which he made. He should have assured the court that we are doing everything possible in our power, and we are doing both official and unofficial to save her, and no stone will be unturned in this quest. And she is a valuable citizen of India. She is as important as Adani or Ambani or whoever they want to protect. And this positive note would have sent a very good message to the government, on behalf of the government, to the people and to the whole world, that India cares. You see,
Right.
if the Americans lose the one citizen, they hold, they do everything possible, even if they are naturalized citizen, like one citizen of Palestinian origin who was killed in Gaza uh, or in other areas. The government has accused the Israeli government and ordered an inquiry. So, whereas we have done nothing, Adani has committed the corruption case and is involved in America. There is no inquiry about him, why he has done this, why he has lowered the image prestige of India. So in that way, this poor lady's only fault is that she went abroad to earn some money. If she had got better earning here, why would she go there like the millions who are going there? So in that way, these economic migrants need to be protected because they repatriated foreign exchange. The government claims that we have received billions of dollars as money remittances, but they don't know how hard it is to toil every dollar. It is tears, blood,
True.
and sweat they do work.
So we just hope and pray that Nimisha Priya is saved from going to the gallows. And we also hope that some good sense prevails with the government. As of now, what we are coming to know officially is that the execution has been postponed. But will the government exhaust its outermost limits to bring back Nimisha Priya to the country? She belongs to this country, and if she's staying in such pathetic conditions over there where she's facing this kind of harassment at the hands of the Yemeni authorities, she really needs to be back. And I'm sure this is not such a tall task for Prime Minister Modi. If he really wants, he will do it. So let's hope and pray for Nimisha Priya. Thank you so much, Professor Pasha, for joining on HW News. Thank you.